She was 51 years old, and she had worked every single day for 23 years, and on a Tuesday morning in March, she opened her bank account on her phone and saw $12.40. Not $1,200, not $12,000, $12.40, and the rent was due in 4 days. Her name was Patricia. And what happened next, nobody who knew her would have predicted. Nobody who saw her at work, steady and quiet and always the first one in, would have guessed that she went home that Tuesday, sat down on the bathroom floor with her back against the tub, and stayed there for 2 hours without moving. But here is what I need you to understand before we go any further. Patricia had not been irresponsible. She had not been careless. She had not wasted her money on things she didn't need. She had done everything she was told a working woman was supposed to do. And she had still arrived at 51 years old with $12.40 to her name. And in that bathroom, on that floor, she made a decision so quiet that nobody heard it, not even her, but it would change the rest of her life. We will get there. But first you need to understand how a woman like Patricia ends up on a bathroom floor. Because if you think it could never be you, I want you to stay close. Because it almost was. Patricia worked as a housekeeper at a mid-sized hotel in Charlotte, North Carolina. She had been there since she was 28 years old. She knew every hallway. She knew which rooms had the heaviest curtains, which carts squeaked on the left wheel, which guests left generous tips folded under the pillow, and which ones left nothing but a mess. 23 years of knowing things that nobody else in the building bothered to learn. She was the kind of woman who got to work 15 minutes early and left 10 minutes late, and never mentioned either. Her hands were always dry from the cleaning products. She kept a small tin of shea butter in her apron pocket and rubbed it into her knuckles during her lunch break. That was Patricia. Every day, the tin of shea butter, the quiet knuckles, the 15 minutes early. She had raised her son, Marcus, mostly alone after his father left, when Marcus was 4. She had paid for his school supplies every August by working an extra Saturday shift through the summer. She had never told Marcus how tight things were because she didn't want him carrying that weight. She carried it for him. She carried it for 23 years and called it love. She lived in a small apartment in a part of Charlotte that was getting more expensive every year. Her neighbors were changing, the rents were climbing, and Patricia was standing still. Under the bathroom sink, behind a box of baking soda and an old hairdryer, she kept a tin. A square tin with a faded floral pattern, the kind that used to hold holiday butter cookies. Inside it were folded things. A photo of Marcus at his high school graduation, a prayer card from her mother's funeral, and underneath both of those a small piece of paper torn from a notepad, folded in quarters. On it, in Patricia's handwriting, were 3 numbers. The price of a small house she had seen for sale in a quiet neighborhood 2 years earlier. The name of the street, and the words, "One day, Lord willing." She had folded that paper and put it away and told herself it was foolish. But she had never thrown it away. The trouble had started building long before she saw it. For years, Patricia had been managing money the way most working women manage it. Pay what's due, buy what's needed, hope what's left stretches to the end of the month. She did not have a savings account with any real amount in it because every time she got close to saving something, something happened. The car needed a repair. Marcus needed something. The electricity bill spiked in August. Something always happened, so she stopped trying to save in any structured way and just did her best. What she didn't see was the drift. A streaming subscription here, a habit of buying lunch on Thursdays because Thursday was her hardest day. A store credit card she had opened for an emergency 4 years earlier and never fully paid off, sitting at $260 in interest charges she hadn't looked at closely in 2 years. None of those things were large. None of them felt like decisions, They felt like weather, like something that just happened to her. The crisis came when her hours were cut. The hotel was going through a slow season and then a slower one. She went from 38 hours a week to 26 for 2 months, then 3. Her check dropped from roughly $840 a week to $580 a week. More than $250 a week gone. She put the difference on the credit card the first month, then the second. By the third month, the card was maxed. Her balance was $1,840, and the minimum payment alone was $62. And that was when the check for March came in, and she did the math and realized she was going to come up short on rent by $310, and she had $12.40 in her account and nothing left to move. She called Marcus. He was 23 and working at a distribution center, trying to get his own footing. She called him, and before he could say hello, she said, "Never mind, baby. I'll figure it out." And she hung up. She went into the bathroom and sat down on the floor. She kept a small notepad on the edge of the sink for writing down things she needed to remember. It had a little green cover. She had bought it at the dollar store. She reached up from the floor and pulled it down without standing up. And she sat there on the tile with that notepad in her lap, and she wrote at the top of the first blank page, "Where did it all go?" She stared at those words for a long time, and that notepad, that small green notepad from the dollar store, would become the thing that changed everything. Patricia's neighbor across the hall was a woman named Miss Yuki. She was in her late 60s, Japanese-American, retired, and the quietest person Patricia had ever lived near. Not cold, just still. The kind of still that makes you feel calmer just standing next to it. They had exchanged hellos for 3 years without much more than that. But one evening in late March, Patricia was in the laundry room in the basement of the building, sitting on the bench waiting for her clothes, staring at the floor, and Miss Yuki came in with her small basket. She looked at Patricia. Patricia looked up. Neither of them said anything for a moment. Then Miss Yuki sat down on the bench, not on the other end, right beside her. She set her basket down and folded her hands in her lap. "You look like you are fighting something you cannot punch," she said. Patricia almost laughed. It came out somewhere between a laugh and a sob. She told her, "Not everything, but enough." The hours cut, the card, the $12, the bathroom floor. Miss Yuki listened without interrupting. She did not say, "I'm so sorry." She did not say, "Have you tried budgeting?" She just listened until Patricia was finished. Then she was quiet for a while. She said, "My grandmother used to say something. In Japan, we grow up hearing it. It took me 40 years to understand what it really meant." She paused. She said, "Money is water. You do not hold water with open hands." Patricia looked at her. Miss Yuki said, "It does not mean you grip it. It means you build a vessel, something that can carry it, something with shape." And then her machine beeped and she got up and moved her laundry to the dryer. And that was the end of the conversation. But Patricia rode the elevator back upstairs with those words sitting in the middle of her chest like a warm stone. "Money is water. You do not hold water with open hands." She took out the green notepad. She wrote it down, word for word, and she underlined it twice. What happened next did not happen in a single night of inspiration. It happened slowly over weeks, the way understanding always really happens. Patricia started learning about Japanese principles of money because something in what Miss Yuki said had opened a door in her that she had never known was there. And as she learned, she began to see her own life clearly in a way she never had before. The first thing she understood was the principle of kakebo. In Japan, many families use a small handwritten book to track their money by hand. Not an app, not a spreadsheet, paper and pen. The act of writing it down by hand, of seeing your own handwriting next to each number, changes your relationship with that number. Patricia started doing this in her green notepad. She wrote down every single dollar that came in and every single dollar that went out by hand every day. And within 1 week, she saw things she had never seen before. The Thursday lunch, the subscriptions she forgot she was paying, the minimum payment eating $62 a month on a card she barely used anymore. She had been invisible to her own money, and her money, having no one watching it, had wandered. The second thing was the concept of ikigai applied to spending, a word that roughly means the reason you get up in the morning, the thing that gives your life meaning. Patricia began to ask herself before every purchase a question she had never asked before. She asked, does this bring me closer to the life I actually want, or does it just fill the moment? Not to punish herself, not to live without joy, but to know the difference, to be awake to the choice. She discovered that many of her purchases were not choices at all. They were habits dressed as choices. That difference mattered. The third principle was mottainai, a Japanese word that expresses grief over waste, not guilt, grief. The Japanese feel genuine sadness when something of value is wasted, whether it is food or fabric or time or money. Patricia thought about all the months she had paid $62 in minimum payments on a card she could have paid off years earlier with discipline. She thought about the subscriptions running quietly in the background. She allowed herself to feel something about that, not shame, but honest grief, because grief, unlike shame, points you forward. Shame makes you hide. Grief makes you not want it to happen again. The fourth thing she learned was about ma, the Japanese concept of empty space, of the pause, of the value of what is not there. In money, this becomes the practice of intentional restraint, of not filling every dollar of your paycheck the moment it arrives, of having money that sits, that rests. That is not yet assigned. Patricia had never in her adult life allowed money to simply sit. Every dollar had been spoken for before it arrived. She began, very slowly, to leave a small portion unassigned, not spent, not transferred, just present. That money began to feel like breathing room, and breathing room, she discovered, is not a luxury. It is a necessity. You cannot think clearly when every dollar is already gone before you earn it. The fifth thing she understood was wabi-sabi, the acceptance of imperfection, of impermanence, of the beauty in things that are worn and humble and real. Patricia had spent years measuring herself against a version of financial life she saw in other people and on television that was not her life. And the gap between that image and her reality had made her feel like a failure for things that were actually just human. She was not failing. She was imperfect, and imperfect is not the same as broken. She began to release the comparison. That release made room for something she had not felt around money in many years: curiosity. The sixth thing was the principle of Kaizen, tiny, continuous improvement, not revolution, not one dramatic change that reorganizes everything. One small, better choice made consistently over time. Patricia decided that every week she would do one thing differently. 1 week, she brought her lunch on Thursday instead of buying it. 1 week, she called the credit card company and negotiated a lower interest rate, and they said yes. 1 week, she set up an automatic transfer of $22 into a savings account on payday before she could think about it or redirect it. Small, steady, humble, and compounding. The seventh thing came from the Japanese practice of gift giving, the understanding that money is energy that moves between people and should move with care and intention and gratitude. Patricia had been sending money to help others, to Marcus sometimes, to a cousin who needed something, and she had done it out of fear, not out of abundance, out of a deep dread of being seen as selfish if she said no. She began to distinguish between giving from love and giving from fear. She did not stop being generous, but she stopped bleeding. The eighth thing was the hardest one. It was about the loop she had planted in the beginning, the question of why a woman who worked every day for 23 years still ended up with $12.40. The answer was not laziness. The answer was not stupidity. The answer was invisibility. She had been invisible to her own financial life. She had never been taught to look at it directly, to sit with it, to build a vessel for it. Nobody had taught her. Not her mother, who had the same relationship with money, who had learned it from her mother. This was not failure passing through generations. This was ignorance passing through generations, and ignorance ends when someone decides to look. Patricia decided to look. The ninth thing was the simplest one and the one she should have learned first, but could only learn last. In Japan, there is a practice called chore, a brief morning ritual of intention, a moment at the beginning of the day to set the mind before the world arrives. Patricia began each morning, before her phone, before the news, before anything, by opening the green notepad and writing one sentence. One sentence about what she intended that day, not what she feared, not what she owed, what she intended. Some mornings it was about money. Some mornings it was about her son. Some mornings it was just, today I will not apologize for needing rest, but the ritual of intention done before the chaos changed what the chaos could do to her. She arrived at her days instead of being dragged through them. By May, Patricia's credit card balance was down to $1,120. By July, it was $460. By September, it was gone. She had also, by September, saved $850. The first time in her adult life, she had seen that number in her account and known it was not earmarked for anything. It was just there, a vessel with water in it. Her hours at the hotel had come back up, and she had requested a conversation with her manager about a raise. That conversation had not come naturally to her. She had rehearsed it on the drive to work for 3 days. But she had it, and she walked out with an extra $1.20 an hour. Modest. Real. She found an app that one of the women in the hotel's linen room had mentioned in passing, the Woman's Lesson Finance app. Free, designed for exactly the kind of system Patricia had been building in her green notepad. Digital envelopes for each spending category, goal tracking, simple and clean and made for a woman who does not have time to be confused by her own finances. She started using it alongside her handwritten notes, one for thinking, one for tracking. The two together made her feel, for the first time, like a woman with a plan that she herself had written. She called Marcus in September on a Sunday afternoon, and she told him the whole truth. About the bathroom floor, about the $12, about Miss Yuki and the water and the vessel. Marcus was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Mama, why didn't you tell me?" And Patricia said, "Because I thought it was my job to hold it. But that's not love, baby. That's just hiding." He called her the following Sunday, and the one after that. In October at the hotel, there was a new housekeeper, a woman named Connie, 43 years old, recently divorced, 2 kids at home, just moved to Charlotte from somewhere she didn't talk about much. She started on a Monday, and by Wednesday, Patricia could already see it. The look, the careful way she moved. The way she smiled quickly to hide that she was calculating something behind her eyes all the time. Patricia knew that look. She had worn it for 23 years. On Friday of Connie's first week, they were restocking the supply cart together at the end of the shift, and Connie said very quietly, not looking up, "Do you know if they do direct deposit here? I need to know when exactly the check hits." Patricia looked at her. She understood every single word underneath that question. She reached into the pocket of her apron, past the tin of shea butter, and she pulled out the green notepad. She held it for a moment. Then she said, "This is how I learned to stop being afraid of what I had and start working with it." She opened it to a page near the beginning, the words at the top. Where did it all go? And then below it, the answer she had spent months building, column by column, dollar by dollar. Vessel by vessel. Connie looked at the page. She looked at Patricia. Patricia said, "My neighbor told me something that changed how I see money. She said, money is water. You do not hold water with open hands. You have to build something that can carry it." Connie's eyes went a little wet. She blinked it back. Patricia said, "You don't have to have a lot to start. You just have to start looking at what you have. Really looking." Without flinching, she wrote down the name of the app on a corner of the page, tore it off carefully, and handed it to Connie. "Free," she said. "It does what this notepad does, but it fits in your pocket." That evening, Patricia drove home past the quiet neighborhood with the small houses. She slowed down on the street she had written on the piece of paper in the floral tin. The tin she had kept under the sink behind the baking soda for 2 years. The piece of paper that said, "One day, Lord willing," and the price, and the name of the street. She did not stop the car, but she did not speed up either. She drove slowly. She looked at the houses, small, clean, with yards. A few had gardens in the back you could see through the fences, tomatoes, zucchini, one with late sunflowers, gold in the October light. She thought, not yet, but not never. That was new. That was the whole difference. If you have ever sat on a bathroom floor or driven past something you wanted and told yourself it wasn't for you, or worked yourself to the bone and still come up short at the end of the month, then you know Patricia. Maybe you are Patricia. Maybe you have been Patricia for years, and you didn't even know there was a way out that wasn't about earning more. That was about learning to see differently. These 9 principles didn't come from a textbook. They came from a woman who got quiet enough to learn something ancient and true, that money is water, that water needs a vessel, and that you can build one, even now, even with what you have, starting today. Come into the comments right now and type Day 1, and tell me one thing, just one thing, that you are going to do today only for yourself. I read every single comment. I want to read yours. And if you have a sister, a friend, a co-worker who is running herself ragged and still coming up short, share this video with her. She needs to hear this today. One little thing between us, friend. The link for the Woman's Lesson Finance app is in the pinned comment below. Just tap it. It is free, it is simple, and it is exactly the kind of tool that lets you build your vessel without it feeling overwhelming. If you are not part of this family yet, this is your moment. Hit subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss a story. Every week we sit here together and talk about real things, real women, real lives, no pretending, no performing, just the truth, told with love and with warmth. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. That tells me something about you. It tells me you are not done. And that is the most important thing there is. I will see you in the next one.